Hello, everyone. I'm just going to jump right in to try to keep this on time. I'm going very old school philosophy, just reading it from the page. I'll try to keep it at a decent pace so it doesn't get too disorienting. In this essay, I utilize Simone de Beauvoir's Phenomenology of Temporality to explore how drug use interplays with and affects the time experiences of women. I argue that for some women users, drug use constitutes a temporal rupture, which rips them from the anticipatory temporality of their girlhood. Reflective accounts from women who are now drug dependent suggest the idealization and romanticization of drug use in adolescence. There is an anticipatory element to their testimonies. I suggest that in these cases, the drugs take primacy over men in structuring their temporal experience of waiting. In the third section, I posit a third temporal conversion that occurs as use becomes dependence. The addicted woman's temporality mirrors the temporality of Beauvoir's married women. Though the temporal shift did not necessitate a man, she nevertheless is condemned to passivity in an eternal present. I gesture towards an addictive subjectivity which overwhelms the feminine. I conclude, however, that further analysis is needed and suggest other threads to follow through addiction testimonies. Part 1, Feminine Temporal Experience. Simone de Beauvoir famously argued that, quote, becoming a woman is breaking with the past without recourse, unquote. Beauvoir theorizes that an individual experiences 3 ruptures with the past in the process of becoming woman. These ruptures, which Beauvoir scholar Megan Burke characterizes as temporal conversions, unsettle the triadic temporal horizon. Beauvoir's claim is a radical one. An individual's lived time is bound to their becoming a gendered being. Neither the triadic temporal horizon nor a dynamic experience of time in which the future is opened up by the past and present are generalizable. The first rupture Beauvoir thematizes occurs when the child transitions into girlhood, a transition which occurs with her induction into the world of men. As a child, the structure of her lived time is open. She moves towards her future through the seamless integration of her past and present. As a girl, the seamless integration of her past and present into her future falters, and she cannot cast herself into the future without positing the waited-for man. The girl's temporality is that of anticipatory waiting, a time sense which has an agonizing quality to it. The second temporal conversion happens in heterosexual initiation. No longer suspended between transcendence and immanence, the girl becomes pure immanence. Her connection to transcendence is cleaved, and she is doomed to passivity. Marriage reifies her temporality as a passive present, and the structure of her lived time closes. The temporality of immanence is thus constitutive of feminine subjectivity. With marriage, the woman becomes absolutely passive, and she discovers the monotony and drudgery of pure facticity. The long-awaited man is central to her lived experience of time. He is transcendence. His temporal structure remains open, as does his horizon of possibility. She is incorporated into his time. Her future is formed to him. Though she lives in a passive present, she realizes herself as activity through administering her home. It does not confer meaning to life and becomes meaningful only through its, quote, integration into existences that go beyond themselves, unquote. Through a series of temporal ruptures, her connection to the past is severed. Without a past or future of her own to lay claim to, her subjectivity must be stabilized through the waited-for man. In the following section, I argue that drugs may be used to rupture the anticipatory temporality of waiting, and an initiation into the world of drugs occurs. Part 2, drug use as temporal rupture. For some women, drug use triggers a temporal rupture, one which shifts them out of the anticipatory temporality of waiting without necessitating a man. Emma Eleonora's daughter, a researcher in Sweden, collected the testimonies of 12 women who use drugs daily. One woman, Agnes, viewed drugs as freedom, a way to escape the boredom that pervaded her youth. Quote, yeah, curiosity, or as I mentioned, that you go around feeling bored for a few years and hype yourself up. Soon I'll be grown up, then I can start, unquote. The anticipation she voices aligns with Beauvoir's theorization of feminine temporality, only the waited for is not a man. For young Agnes, there was no future without drugs. Use was the mark of being grown up. It was what would transition her from girlhood to womanhood. Another woman, Bull, portrays her teenage years as a time when drug use was waiting for her. Bull reflects, I'd say I tried drugs for the first time when I was 14, but I felt a bit too chicken and backed out. Then I did ecstasy at some point when I was 17, and I backed out again. Bowles' anticipation is tempered by her hesitation. She retreats from the world of drugs several times over before submerging herself. Her pause is a temporal state still marked by the temporality of anticipatory waiting. She is suspended between use and non-use, and the drugs are left in wait. There is a notable reversal of the waited for and waiting in Bowles' testimony. Drugs will come and sweep her away from the stagnation and boredom of the present once she overcomes her hesitation in adulthood. Both Bowles and Agnes orient themselves towards drugs. Men are not present in their narratives. Testimonies collected by researcher Corina Giacomello share a similar timbre. Georgina, a woman from Greece, states, quote, "From the first try, I realized how important it was for me. It was what I was waiting for my entire life," unquote. Giacomello notes curiosity as a primary motivation to start using drugs for many of the interviewed women. In their girlhood, drugs had an illusory, mysterious air that attracted them. Each of these women, now dependent on substances, viewed drugs as a means to escape the boredom and monotony that characterized their youth. Their narratives follow a similar trajectory. In girlhood, they are enamored with the fantasy of the object that will eventually doom them to passivity in an icy present. Madeline, interviewed by Eleanor's daughter, speaks of being enthralled with a film about use. Quote, "I've always been interested in drugs in a way that others are not, I've noticed. I was completely fascinated by the film Trainspotting. And I and my mate, we wanted a flat like that. How many people when you're 15 think like that? And I decided early on I wanted to try everything." Unquote. Other testimonies suggest a conferred sense of superiority in forming one's future around drugs. Georgina, who grew up surrounded by use, explains, quote, "It taught me to undervalue all drug-free people and to feel a better person, as if I was on an upper level," unquote. She pedestalized users even before becoming one herself. Users, for Georgina, had access to special knowledge. They had discovered the best way to be in the world. Her language posits that users' existences were spatially separate from non-users. They existed in another, higher realm, and drugs held the key to the kingdom. Another woman, Brigitte, expresses a similar sentiment, quote, "You've got to go out and get there and try stuff before you get old and gray. We don't want to find ourselves thinking back to an eventless life," unquote. Their future gleamed with the promise of use. They had found a pathway to transcendence that was not dependent upon a man. Upon first use, there is joy and relief. They are freed from the agonizing anticipation and finally obtaining their love object. In How to Stop Time, Heroin from A to Z, Anne Merlot describes her first time using heroin in terms of an initiation. Quote, "I laughed what I would later grow to know as a tight little heroin laugh at the irony. There, it had happened. I was inside now. It was a perspectival shift. I was initiated," unquote. Merlot had used other substances before trying heroin, but it was with heroin she experienced a perspectival shift. Entailed in this shift is a rupture in time and a new temporal mode. Her prince had come, at long last, clad in a, quote, "glassine dope bag," unquote, and bringing, quote, "an astonishing surge of pleasure," unquote. I hesitate to compare the initiation Merlot writes of to Beauvoir's conception of heterosexual initiation. The initiation does constitute a temporal conversion, however. One gains access to the drug's time and is incorporated into its world. It is my contention that as drug use becomes drug dependence, another temporal conversion occurs. Part 3, towards a feminine temporality of addiction. The rupture that brings this conversion is not instantaneous. No definitive moment marks addiction. There's an expansive body of research that seeks to define addiction, and the paradigms do not always align. For my phenomenological investigation, I take up the relational model of addiction proposed by Anna Weston. Addiction, on this view, occurs when an individual relates to a drug in a human-like way. I propose that the temporal shift happens slowly as the woman begins valuing her connection to drugs over her connection to other beings. What makes Georgina an addict on the relational model is her relation to drugs as a significant other in her life. Sometimes resenting her attachment to them, she recognizes them as necessary for her functioning. Without the regular incorporation of drugs into her body, she cannot realize herself as activity. However, when merged with the drug, she realizes herself as a contingent being. In a later passage, Merlot's realization of her relative existence is evident. Quote, Heroin reinserts you in a harsh chronology based, like the old outmoded one, on the body, but this time on the waxing and waning of heroin in your bloodstream. By incorporating a drug regularly into your body, you identify with a stable and predictable outside entity. Time, concretized as a powder, becomes fungible and thus harmless." Unquote. It is notable that she uses language of body, identity, and fungibility. On one level, she is speaking to the flattening of temporality. Experience becomes smooth and monotonous, making the past interchangeable with the present and the future, and the triadic structure of time is not ruptured, but instated by the drug. There is an embedded contradiction in her testimony. Time is both given meaning, restructured chronologically, and undone by heroin. On another level, Merlot is speaking to the blurring of the boundaries between self and drug. Her subjectivity is stabilized through her attachment to heroin, and heroin constructs her time sense. There is an intimacy suggested in the act of incorporation into the body. Merlot is merging herself with the drug, receiving it. A similar time experience may be observed in Georgina's reflection on her use and eventual dependence. Quote, "For the first time in my life, I felt happiness. Through the years, I understood how important it was for me on a psychological, spiritual, and somatic way. At other times, I realized that I could not stand it. I could not work, get out of bed, talk. I could do nothing without using." Unquote. Georgina binds her ability to be an actor in the world to her use. She understands drugs as her tie to transcendence while realizing them as fixing her in immanence. The temporal experience articulated by these women mirrors Beauvoir's phenomenology of the married woman's temporality. There is a double motion in the addict's drug use, one which, and this is a quote from Beauvoir, quote, "is dictated by the same dialectic that generally defines her condition. She takes by becoming prey, she liberates herself by abdicating, by renouncing the world, she means to conquer the world," unquote. The addict affirms her being in the world through abjuring her independent existence. Their subjectivity is one of immanence, and their existence as an addict is relative to the substance or substances. Their future is constituted by drug use, eat, sleep, use. This is another quote from Beauvoir. "The years no longer reach towards the sky, they spread out identical and gray. Every day looks like the previous one," unquote. Rather than her labor being consumed by the others in an eternal Sisyphusian struggle, it is she that is both consumer and consumed. Though a man may be present in her life, he is not the being around which her temporality is structured. It is the substance. There is a stickiness in forwarding a feminine temporality of addiction. It is unclear to me how similar or dissimilar the experiences of woman addicts are to non-woman addicts. Once the temporal conversion into the temporality of addiction occurs, there seems to be a confluence of men and women's time sense. My suggestion is that the subjectivity of the addict is overwhelmed by their addiction, so much so that the other facets are lost. The feminine subjectivity then is diluted once the last temporal conversion occurs. The homogenization I am forwarding is discussed by Merlot in her description of junkies as holograms. Heroin, she writes, can reduce the human personality gradually into a vague projection in a scattered set of data points that doesn't seem big enough for the body from which it's emanating, unquote. Merlot could also be read as positing a heroin subjectivity in the following passage, quote, "Your blunted emotions do resurface in one area, attachment to the drug. The feeling that you used to direct towards others or to other experiences wrap themselves around that white powder. And instead of lonely subjectivity, I had a ready-made set of heroin reactions, much like everyone else's," unquote. The heroin reactions which replace, quote, "lonely subjectivity," unquote, form Merlot's connection to others. The self that she projects into the world is empty space, a hologram, a trick of the light. It is not just her time that is concretized as white powder, it is her subjectivity. Concluding remarks. This essay was a preliminary exploration into how gender and addiction compound to affect a subject's temporal experience. My analysis, however, is far from complete. Addiction is an astoundingly complex phenomenon, and issues of disciplinary power, neoliberal subjectivation, and coloniality are at play. Accounts of race and coloniality are absent from my discussion, as is an account of class and gender queerness. In my future work, I hope to thematize each. In the above sections, I provided an analysis of the feminine temporality of addiction. I propose that drug use can constitute a temporal rupture that converts the structure of time. Addiction, I argued, constitutes another rupture. Through the Through the regular incorporation of drugs into the body, one experiences both a harsh chronology and a temporal stasis. I suggest that addiction suppresses other aspects of the addicted individual's subjectivity, creating a homogenized addict subjectivity. Drug use, though it enables the rupture of the anticipatory temporality and may overwhelm the feminine subjectivity, is not liberatory. Thank you.